So it's been a year, and I have finally completed the Exalted of the Red Angel box. Here they are in all their glory together. Just want to talk about some of the things I learned, go through a couple of the models, and just show you guys the progress that I've made in this hobby. I've really enjoyed it. I know that was one of the questions that I had when I got started. It's a lot of fun. I got a Combat Patrol for Christmas. I've also done a Hellbrute, so I've got a lot more models to come, and just talk about some of the stuff I've learned, how I've gotten better, and maybe some tips that you'll learn as you go to help you on your hobbying journey. So the first thing I put together were the Berserkers, and the first one I put together was the Captain. And as you can see, his arms are kind of wonky because I was trying to get cute and do something that wasn't in the description of the instructions. I was already trying to be like, oh, I'm going to do my own thing. And probably for your first set, just do what it tells you. As you continue, you can kind of like adjust them a little bit, change their head positions, especially with the Berserker kit. I've already done the glued together the ones for the Combat Patrol. And, you know, you can go a little bit fun with it for the second one, but for the first one, just do what it tells you. Don't get fancy. Overall, I'm really happy with the way they turned out. I think they look awesome. I love the color scheme that I went with. And as I dive into a couple of the individual, I'll show one of the individuals models and talk about some of the techniques that I used to make it really pop. So this is one of the Berserkers with Eviscerator. I really liked that triangle kind of visor on the helmet. I think that looks really, really cool. And you know, so it would take me about an hour to paint all the red and about an hour to paint all the gold. And I kind of got to a point where I was going to do assembly style and just paint all the red, paint all the gold, and, you know, on all the models. And I realized I was going to lose interest. So I kind of went back, just painted the gold, and I would do a session of red, do a session of gold, and then do a session of all the other colors, the ivory, and just touching up all the spots where I went a little over on this side, a little over on that side. And to really get that green to pop, because I was just putting the flesh shade dye on all of it. But what I learned was just wait until after you put that on and then put the spots that you really want to pop, like the green as an example, after you do the flesh shade. So that way there's no shader on that green, it's just pure neon green. I probably should have taken pictures of all the colors that I used, which maybe I can add that to another later video. Here you can see one of the 8-bounds that I did. Really like the 8-bounds. I don't like the 8-bounds as much as I thought I would as far as assembling and gluing. I think their kits just weren't as fun to paint for me as the Berserkers. And maybe because they were a little bit harder and they have so much skin on them that I felt like I was doing a lot of ivory. Like ivory was almost its own session between the skin, the bone, and all of that. So it was like an hour for red, an hour for gold, an hour for ivory, and then another hour for touching up all the little nooks and crannies, trying to get a little bit of texture on the spikes with just dry brushing, which is a technique that when you hear that, just look up a video on how to do it. You'll probably mess up the first couple times you do it. But one of the things that I learned that really helped me was take the brush after you've done it and just do it on the back of your hand or another surface until you're barely getting anything off of the brush. And then you can kind of go back and do, which you'll see as I show you the Angron model, that I got a lot better at doing dry brushing. Overall, really happy with the way he turned out. You can really see the popping of the ridges, and literally all you do for that is just get that flesh shade dye or ink, whatever you want to call it, and you just paint it over the other colors that you have. It adds a little bit of dimension to the armor, to the ivory on his, like the teeth that are coming off of his chest piece, as well as the skin. It just really sinks into those crevices. And you can even take the tip of your brush and kind of push it into those crevices. I didn't do that a lot, but overall, very happy with the way it came out. And here we got the Big Daddy, Angron. I did a sub-assembly on him. All the other ones I just glued them all in one piece. This one I actually put together, and I put like his whole shoulder down together on each of his arms. I did glue his chest, head, basically kept the wings and the arms off separate, which also meant I kept the shoulder pads off. I kept his little chest piece and part that goes over the top there off, and there's something else. Yeah, the dangly part that comes off of his chest piece off. Everything else I just put on there, and so that way it's a lot easier to hold. Most of the techniques that I had already learned just kind of went in with this, you know, just taking your time, doing 1 or 2 colors at a time. And you could see I wanted to get a little fancy, and so I went with a half white, half red for his armor, just kind of a little nod to the Loyalist world leaders before their fall to chaos. And again, you just do the whole model. I doused it with that flesh shade dye, and then went back on like the teeth and the eyes, did those with pure white so they really pop out, trying to draw the focus to the face. And then on the sword, I tried to do a glow effect into the black part of the sword. It doesn't really work if you don't have an airbrush. I don't have an airbrush, and so I just kind of did it all green, and then I dry brushed black over top of it, which gave it a little bit of a glow, but it could have been better if I had an airbrush. But maybe one day I'll invest in that. But right now I'm still having fun with just my little brushes. So I wanted to show you the picture of him with the light on. You can really see in the wings where that dry brushing technique came in, because you can just take I painted them all green, and then I used a black dry brush to really hit those raised edges, and just went back and forth really, really fast, and it just catches on those edges and takes what little paint that you do have on there off, and that's how it gets in there. I also did a wash on top of that, so you can kind of see where it just kind of lands down here and gets a little bit darker in the recesses, just creating a little bit of depth and dimension on that model. So here you can see them all together. Again, I had a really good time. I think this is a great hobby. I'm looking forward to doing the combat patrol. For basing, I just went with green rim and just put some sand basing. I can't remember what, I think it was from Army Painter. I just put sand on the basing, and I intentionally put it onto the feet as well, so that way it really looks like they've been walking through the sand and it's kind of sticking to their boots. Overall, things that I learned is don't beat yourself up too much. A couple different ideas for painting is just doing one color at a time. Which color to start with first? I think going forward, I would start with whatever color is lowest. So as an example, don't do the gold first, because the red is lower, and then work up from there, because you're going to find as you do the top portions and then you go back and do a lower portion, you always end up nicking a little bit of it with your brush, and then you have to go back and do it again. So yeah, that's not a lot of fun. Again, to make your brights really pop, do those last after you've done your washes. And if you just want to like wash the whole model, which is what I did for most of them, is just wash the whole model with some of your whatever ink you're using, whether it's the purple, the red, etc., and then go back, and after that's dried, then do your whatever color you want to pop, whether it's the green. For my models, it was always the green. Really wanted that to pop and be bright, so I did that after the fact. 2 final quick tips. Make sure you prime your bases. So don't just spray the model, spray the ring. You'll see on some of those pictures, the ring where the green is a little see-through, and I had to go around 3 or 4 times on the rings even just to get that effect. So make sure you prime your bases when priming your model. And also, if you're doing a sub-assembly, use some blue tack on those connection points. Otherwise, you're going to have to file off the primer. So make sure you do that. Is an easy way to be able to glue it back together easily, instead of having to file off the primer to be able to get that plastic glue to it to adhere. If you're using super glue, that's an irrelevant point, but if you're using plastic glue, use blue tack to cover those points so you don't cover it with primer and have to file it off to be able to get it glued together. So thanks for tuning in. If you've watched this video, I know it's been a long time coming. I'm sorry for the wait. I'll do a video on the Hellbrute that I did once I finish. I'm going to try and put on some transfers on him. That'll be the first ones I've done for that. And I'm going to try and do a video every week for this year. I know it's been super sporadic. It might be hobby stuff, it might be game stuff, it might be life stuff, but I just want to do something. I want to make a commitment this year to put up a video a week for a year and just kind of grow the channel and just see what we can make happen. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.